Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Yale. Derek Yale. Derek Yale.
Derek Yale.
Derek Yale.
No frontin', can't talk cause I'm up to something now. I'm up to something, let it be no frontin'.
We feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions, and this panel comes with different styles in discussing national issues.
I'm up to something now. I'm up to something.
If you are living a glass hot, don't throw stone.
No frontin', can't talk cause I'm up to something now. I'm up to something.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale, and I'm joined by my co-panelist, my co-host, and reporter from Liberia, Mr. David Talkway. Mr. David Talkway, welcome to the Horizon. You're muted, Mr. Talkway. Can you hear me? Mr. Talkway, can you hear me? You're muted. I can't get your audio. Well, before I go any further, guys, if you're watching us, welcome to the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And this is season 4, episode 1 of The Horizon. And as you may know it, or before I go any further, let me encourage and ask you please to share the program on your social media pages, specifically on Facebook. Share this program and encourage your friends and family to join us here on episode 1, season 4 of The Horizon. And also follow the network, the Liberia Radio and Television Network, and that is the network to follow. So as you may know, the Horizon here is an opinion-based talk show, and we feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions. And of course, these panelists offer opinions in discussing political trends, socioeconomic issues relating to health and education. And all of the opinions and positions offered here are that of the panelists that will be offering them, and not the official position of the network. And here on the Horizon, we will tonight feature a team of panelists, and these panelists coming to discuss issues. And just to give you what's coming up on this episode of the Horizon, we will talk on the CDC official campaign that was launched today at the Antonin Todman Stadium. And also we will be getting into the U.S. requesting access to polling stations and vote tallying on the upcoming elections in Liberia. And also concerning the issues going on in Gabon, we will be having our panelists give you their take on this question. Is the ongoing coups in Africa the beginning of anti-colonial revolution? So we will have that. And also, just right after the break, we will bring you our current event in Liberia as well as the diaspora. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Derek Yale, and I will be joined by my co-host David Talkway from Liberia. But before we bring you our current event, let's take a very brief break. Before we do that, please do us a favor: share this program on your Facebook page and encourage friends and family to join us here. But before that, please follow the network. This is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yade. Let's take a brief break. When we come back, we'll bring you our current event.
Hey there. Many Liberians are members of social clubs, 501c NGOs, and school alumni. Many Liberians are trying to open their own 501c NGOs, home care agencies, and social clubs. Does your organization have a professional website? Does your web platform have the right wording and content to attract grants? Hopefully you're not running your organization only through social media. There's a more professional route. You need an online space where you can craft a positive message about your organization, making your home health agency more credible, which will increase your chances to receive grants. to receive
We'll build
grants.
you a responsive
We'll
platform
build
for
you a responsive
501c
platform for
organizations,
501c
healthcare agencies,
organizations,
and other types
healthcare
of
agencies, and
organizations.
other types of
We'll provide you
organizations.
with
We'll
full
provide you with
website maintenance,
full website
membership
maintenance,
sign-in,
membership
private
sign-in,
charts,
private
Facebook
charts,
and WhatsApp integration, live video feed for all your meetings and special occasions, a dashboard for members to see all the activities, and email and text auto reminders for meetings. We'll build with donors and 501c in mind, and will help you solicit grants and automatic membership due collections. Building you this amazing platform will only be a membership fee of $19 a month. Call or email us now. Let's upgrade your website. Home health agencies and small businesses, you owe it to your company to project the best image possible, and we can make it happen. Visit www.tiamit.com or call 215-966-8679. Ask for Tommy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're joining us from, you're here again on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And thank you for joining us here on episode 1, season 4 of the Horizon. So let me get this over right to my co-host, Mr. David Talkway, and welcome to the Horizon, and do us the honor of welcoming our panelists for this episode, Mr. David
Thank you,
Talkway.
Derek. Thank you, Derek. Are you hearing me now, Derek?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Okay.
Mr. David Tarkwe, welcome to the Horizon. And before we get into the current event for this episode, I would like to have my team of panelists line up for this episode, and we will introduce them, and then we will bring you the current event we have in photo for you tonight. So starting with the Lord Mayor of Ventura, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Welcome to episode 1, season 4 of the Horizon. The Lord Mayor of Ventura, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Welcome.
Greetings, greetings. This is the Lord Mayor of Bento. You already know Bobby Michelle Crawford. Live and direct. Derek, it's good to see you.
Likewise.
The Reverend, my brother John Winkin, David in Liberia. I know it's late. Thank you for staying up. Let's do this. Who's that? What's the other person? Let me put on my spectacle and see who's over there. Mr. Sharif, good to see you.
Thank you very much, Bobby. And let's now move to Mr. Jai Winkin. We are welcome to the pilot episode of season 4.
All right, David, Derek, Reverend, Mr. Sheriff, and our own Derek. Well, let's do it, guys. We are here going live. No gimmicks, as you say.
There's no gimmick, no fluff, no, and just real talk here on the Horizon. But thank you very much, Mr. Jai Winkin. We are Reverend Adi. Welcome to another episode 1 actually of season 4 of the Horizon.
Well, greetings to all of you esteemed panelists. It's such a pleasure to be back once more. My greetings to all of you Liberians who are watching far and near. Thanks for having us as we discuss the welfare of our country. God bless.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Now let's move on to you, Mr. Sheriff. This is episode 1, season 4 of the Horizon. This is actually a debut episode. So welcome to the Horizon here from the LRTN family and the Horizon team as well. So welcome to this episode and welcome to this panel. Can you hear me, Mr. Sheriff? You're muted. I can't hear you. Well, Mr. Sheriff, can you hear me? I can't hear you. We will come back. We will come back to you, Mr. Sheriff. But now let's go over to you, Mr. Tagbe. Give us the current event coming out of Liberia, Mr. Tagbe.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. And the newly appointed U.S. Charge of Affairs to Liberia, Captain Rodriguez, has reaffirmed the U.S. and the international community's commitment to monitor Liberia's crucial presidential and legislative elections on October 10. In her first interaction with the Liberian media on Wednesday, Ms. Rodriguez said the elections are a solemn responsibility, and as such, the incumbent government of President George Weah should ensure that they will be free, fair, and transparent. Collaborating political parties vice standard bearer, Councillor Charlene Bronskin, it says the CDC government has over the past 5 years subjected the Liberian people to economic hardship. Bronskin told an intellectual forum on Wednesday that President Weah does not deserve a second term because he has Liberian people. And finally, the ruling CDC on Thursday launched its political campaign at the Anthony Tottenham Stadium, bringing together several thousands of its partisans. And on a sad note, few persons were reported injured. In fact, one has reported dead, but LRTN has not confirmed that independently. That happened in a tragic motor accident on the Japanese freeway in Monrovia. Derek?
Thank you very much.
Derek, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm hearing you now, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Tagwe, for that splendid reporting coming out of Liberia. Now we should transition over to the current events coming out of the diaspora first, beginning with one that has to do with Google. The world's most popular search engine turns 25 this week. So on Monday, September 4th, Google turns celebrated its 25th anniversary this week. So just to give you fun facts about Google, as you know, it's the most popular search engine. As of August 2023, Google had a global market share of about 92%. Its nearest competitor, Bing, had about 3% market share, followed by Yahoo at just above 1%. And also some fun facts about the most popular search terms on Google. In 2008, former U.S. President Barack Obama came in first place for the most popular search term, and then in 2016, former U.S. President Donald Trump as well came in first place. So that's the first development, and you can find more on that on Al Jazeera website. So Google actually turning 25. This is one of the development we have from the diaspora. Moving on, we have another development coming out of neighboring Sudan. Uh, VOA Africa is actually reporting that according to the United Nations, more than 5 million has been displaced by the conflict in Sudan. As you may well know, Sudan was plunged into chaos almost 5 months ago when the long simmering tensions between the military led by General Abdel Fattah Burhan and the rapid support forces commanded by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo escalated into open warfare. And according to this new article, unfortunately, international efforts to mediate the conflict have so far failed. There have been at least 9 ceasefire agreements since the outbreak, and all have broken down. The final development we have here from the diaspora, and that will actually transition into the discussions for our team of panelists here. So we're getting this development from the BBC Africa web page. So it is reporting that Gabon junta frees ousted President Bongo on health grounds. So the free the former President Bongo on grounds, and also giving the freedom to seek health care abroad if you so chooses. So now I'd like to invite my panelists on this particular situation ongoing in Gabon, but with a question though. And the question here is, give me a second. Question here is the ongoing coups in Africa the beginning of anti-colonial revolution? So you guys can take a stab at that, and then we will take a break and come back and bring you the topic we have for tonight. But before I do that, let me encourage those of you in the audience to please share this live program on your social media page, that is on Facebook, and also follow the network, the Liberia Radio and Television Network. Leave us your take in the comment section, and we will highlight or two doing that when we have a segment to put our comment on the live screen. So, guys, the ongoing coup in Africa, is it the beginning of anti-colonial revolution? Is this the beginning of anti-colonial revolution? Let me start with our reporter from Liberia and co-host here tonight, Mr. David Talkway. Talk to us about the ongoing coup in Africa.
But as far as I'm concerned, it is not about revolution again, uh, anti-colonial power. Is that what you said? Is that the question?
Yes, I read it. Is the prevalence of recent coups in Africa the beginning of anti-colonial revolution?
I disagree. I disagree that it is what the coups are for. In my view, the coup d'etats in Africa as a result of African leaders' inability to relinquish power when the time comes for them to require power to relinquish power. Once African leaders continue to perpetrate themselves into power and changing their constitution because they want to remain in power forever, and then send it to their family people, they will always bring about disharmony among the people that they lead. So, in my view, it's all about African leaders' inability to relinquish power when the time comes. So, I think it's what is igniting all these crises about coup d'etats in Africa, and not necessarily about wanting to get rid of the colonial powers, as you may call it. But it's all about African leaders' willingness to relinquish power uh, as the Constitution requires, as their respective constitutions require, and not about retaining power or keeping yourself in power until you are certified until you are forced to leave power. I think that's my view on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Talkway. And Mr. Jawinkin, let me bring this question over to you. But before I do, let me read an excerpt from editorial on Al Jazeera website, and you can respond to that. It says, what we're witnessing in Africa right now is just a few military elites taking advantage of the genuine suffering and frustration of their people to further their interest. Mr. Jawinkin, will you talk to us about the question we asked before in that statement?
Okay, thank you, Derek. I think David strike the main point. The first revolution in Africa was about ending colonialism in Africa. They fought for independence. The African believed that the white people were ruling them, like in South Africa, in most of the places, except for Ethiopia, which is the only country that was never colonized, and Liberia, let me put it in that terms. But if you look at, I will look at it from a Liberian context. Liberia, we are Liberian. What is in the country is that our leaders failing to think about the people that they are ruling. They make everything to be about themselves. They make themselves to be like a seeming gods. They make themselves to be the one to distribute the resources of the country instead of putting in place a structure that will create a fighting chance for all Liberians or for all Africans. Because I don't think, I don't care how rich you are, no matter how much you have, you cannot cater to everybody. But if there is a chance, if there is something for children to fight for, the children don't have to know anybody to go to school, to get school fee, to get a job. We need a level playing field. We need a level playing field that will allow all Africans to have a fighting chance. That require one to say, if you did this, you're gonna have this. But none of that is existing in Africa. Those people that fought the white people, they adopted the same structure of the white man. In Africa today, other than call themselves honorable excellency, even though the place is nasty, there is nothing they do like in honorable ways, but they call themselves honorable. I don't see what is honorable. People having 20 girlfriends or doing things, taking the poor money. There is nothing honorable about that. But what I'm saying short is that Africans are their own problems. It got nothing to do with or decolonizing Africa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin. We are now, let's come to you, Reverend Adi, and welcome, Mr. Boda. Welcome to episode 1, season 4 of the Hazan. But let me now come to you, Reverend Adi. Talk to us about the ongoing coup d'etat in Africa. Do you think it is the
Derek,
beginning
let
of
me greet Mr. Boda, man.
anti-colonialism?
UP strategist.
If you permit me, please, Reverend Adi, I will just come to you and then you can greet Mr. Boda. Talk to us about the question there, Bobby.
No, he said Reverend Adi. Sorry, I rudely interrupted. My bad.
Go ahead, Reverend Adi.
Well, certainly, as a people who believe in democracy, military coup should never be an option to replace our government other than that of the Constitution, where we can express the legacy of democracy through voting. However, when government begins to pervert the Constitution, such as what happened in Gabon, then it becomes a travesty of the democracy and principles that countries ought to be built upon, thus leading to removal. So certainly coups should not be the new trajectory of our on our African continent, but the truth remains, if governments begin to, abuse the Constitution, such as Mr. Bongo, who had decided to go for a third term, having had a legacy of leadership through his family for such a long time. As far as Western influence, we live in a global village. Obviously, international relations dictates that it's about interests and not friends. So if there are business investments by either France, United States, the geopolitical insecurity of the area, all of those things will definitely trigger Western interest as to see whether or not the international stability of the rule of law can be upheld, especially when you look at the proliferation of ISIS in those different areas such as Al-Qaeda. And then you look at the Wagner group and their presence in the area. Certainly international concerns will be the reality of Westerners, or better yet, the international community. So as it stands now, if Africa truly wants to be decolonialized, we must seek economic empowerment. Our leaders must be able to observe the Constitution in ways that empower the people socio-economically and politically to exercise their rights to peaceful coexistence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let's come to you, Mr. Sheriff. Do you think the ongoing coup d'etat in Africa is the beginning of anti-colonial revolution? Give us your take. Mr. Sheriff, are you with us? You're muted. We'll come back to you, Mr. Sherry. Now let's take Mr. Boda, Mr. Martin Boda. Talk to us about the ongoing coup d'etat in Africa. Do you think it's the beginning of anti-colonial revolution?
Thanks for having me. I think I'm muted. So
no, you're good. I can
hear you, my man.
Oh, fellow paradise, I'm glad to see you all and to be back here tonight. I think it's the beginning of colonialism in Africa, not anti. I don't want to think so. Because truly, if our military institution is coming into power because the current government is corrupt, and yet they come into power, they have to re-cancel constitution that is or institution, rebrand it, and they stay in power for X amount of year again, and they're being controlled by Western power to tell them how you're going to run that country. I think we're just coming back to colonialism again, because that's why the military coup does to Africa, because the influence will be there with money, control, and so forth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. Now let's take you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Give us your take on this. Is the ongoing coup in Africa the beginning of anti-colonial revolution?
Okay, we're not keeping Finney right here because the way they think going, we got people watching and it's live. Well, anyway, I digress. So we got to post a little. I know we all tired. We did the 8 hours. I came in. I'm tired too. I drove all the way, but let's post on live. They think it's live people watching us. Okay, let's play some hard, but let's do some hard zoom. I want to dismiss your question or the premise in itself, like the end of anti-colonial. What was it? You said something that has to do with colonialism.
The beginning of anti-colonial.
Well, I want to dismiss that. It's more or less, you remember a couple of years ago during the administration of Barack Obama, we had the Arab Spring. So I want to say this is like the African Spring, for lack of a better term. I like using that word, right? I think it is a confluence of issues. For example, in most of the countries that the president has sought to remain in power forever, the people has been exposed to all kinds of a degradation. They are economically not in power. Basic services to the people are lacking. They don't have gainful employment. The schools are terrible. Just every institution or everything that's supposed to make their life better is lacking. As a consequence of this, the people are tired. They are looking for a change. And one of the ways to do that is not through the ballot box. They are exercise that. I do agree with the Reverend that the sure way to go about changing a government is to petition it through the ballot box. But we know for certain that in most African countries, elections are rigged. They stay in power forever. They extend the constitution. They metamorphose different changes that try to engage in practices that undermine democracy. So the showers where the people think they can bring about change in a country is to engage in coup d'etat. So I don't think it is the right thing to do, but if the man who is down his high luck and doesn't have anything else, you can resort to violence, and that's what we're seeing. But the good news is these are bloodless coup. Unlike in the past, when there's a coup d'etat in the country, they kill the president, they kill all of the ministers. In the case of 1980, it is not happening like that. And you just alluded to the fact that one of the Gabonese presidents is going to travel abroad to seek medical attention. So this will be a wake-up call to all African leaders that want to remain in power forever. You should have free and fair election. You cannot impose your will on the people. You are not the custodian of knowledge and leadership. People have good ideas. They live in a country of over 10, 20 million people. You are not the only person that can bring about sound economic policy, good governance. There are other talents in the country that can do that. And people who don't live in a utopia, people have different political orientation. We will disagree with you. You cannot impose your will on us, especially in instances where your policy is hurting me and I have the right to disagree through the ballot box and you're not giving me that option. I'm going to exercise in all of ways. So this is what we see happening. With their colonial master, it's more like their puppet master trying to perpetuate it into power, and the people are just looking at it in a different light. So I don't want to believe it's colonial or whatever. That's just a little segment of it. It's more like people are economically deprived. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Thank you very much, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, and thank you for the energy. So that's what the hard zone is about.
There's you gotta do that with the thing live. Y'all can't hear, man. People saying recitation here. I'm not recitation time here.
We will get into the middle of the discussion. Mr. Sheriff.
Lower temperature.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. And my apology, my profound apology to all of you, because my system was kind of like, getting me off track. So I must sincerely apologize to all of you for that. And I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to all of you on the platform tonight. This is my very first time appearing on your show. Again, my name is Yahaya Talata Sharif. I am the chairperson of CDCPA chapter, and I also happens to be a community activist. Live here in Bristol, Pennsylvania. So coming to your question about Gabon, personally, I really don't. There are people who believe that there's some anti-colonialism or whatever you term it. But personally, I just believe most of the French-speaking countries that you see in Africa today that are overthrowing their government, most of the government have not been there for their people. Okay, let's take Gabon, the latest one, for instance. Between Ali Bongo and his late father, Omar Bongo, Omar Bongo ruled Gabon for 42 years, from 1967 to 2009. He was president of Gabon. So do you call that democracy? So in my view, that is not democracy, because if you can respect the tenets of democracy, then of course, and everyone will understand that that's not democracy. Ali Bongo came in place of his father when his father died, 2009. From 2009 up to this year, and he's incapacitated. He's not well, but he stayed forced this year to win, to rig an election to win. So the people of Gabon, they were fed up with the whole thing. If you can't respect democracy or the tenets of democracy, and you want to keep in power from your father to you, between your father and the president, almost 60 years between the father and the son. So the people of Gabon, I think they were fed up, and that's why they came. Burkina Faso, Mali, and other things, I do not buy into a Niger thing. I don't buy into when they say this is anti-colonialism. How can you say you're not for France, but you want to bring in Russia? And they come in, they all have the same mindset. So that whole stuff there, I don't delve into it too much, but I don't believe that anti-colonialism thing. That to me is just something people just trying to put out there.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And thanks to all of you panelists for your contribution on our current event and discussion. To those of you watching us, this is what the Horizon is about. My name is Derek Galley. I'm here with my co-host from Liberia, Mr. David Togbe. We will take a very brief break. When we come back, we will get right into our discussion for the night. And that is beginning with the press report coming out of the U.S. Embassy in Liberia. And it says, to ensure free, fair, and transparent elections, the U.S. government wants full access to polling stations and votes tally. And our reporter from Liberia talk briefly about that in the current event segment. But when we come back, our panelists will give you their take on that, and we will get more on that story from our co-host, Mr. David Takwe. But for now, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will talk more on that. The name is Derek Yale, and the network is the Liberia Radio and Television Network.
Hi, my name is Theophilus Julipa Nelson I. I am the founder and CEO of Lift Africa LLC. Lift Africa started as an employment agency that sought the employment of immigrants coming to the U.S. and finding ways and means to go to start life in this great your country. Now we have added airport pickups and drop. Car rental, hall rental. As you see, we have a new business location. Started with just a little office part, but today we have a whole complex that we can do a lot of stuff with.
Hello everyone, my name is Geneva Kreitz. I'm the Executive Administrator of Uplift Africa. We have an excellent employment rate at our company. We work with and for you regardless of your situation. If you've ever been in prison, maybe your background isn't great, do not worry. We have a place for you here. We believe in equal opportunity for everyone, especially you. So sign up today and begin earning.
My name is Emmanuel B. Horton, Operational Director for Live Africa. Live Africa is the place to be.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. You're watching season 4, episode 1 of The Horizon, and I'm here with my co-host David Tagway and a team of panelists, Mr. Bobby Mitchell Crawford, Mr. Sheriff, Mr. Boda, and Mr. Ja Winkin. Let's get right into our conversation for the night, beginning with the U.S. government wanting full access to our polling stations and vote tallying. As we know, elections is, if I'm not mistaken, 33 days away. So before I come to our panelists, I will come to you, Mr. Topway, to give us more development on that, and then I'll have our panelists talk more about that.
Yes, as you follow the news from Liberia, following the expiration of the tenure of the former U.S. ambassador, the United States has not renamed or sent a new ambassador, even though they named him, but he hasn't arrived. But in the meantime, the Charge d'Affaires, Christina Rodriguez, arrived in the country quite recently, and she just met with the Liberian media, members of the Liberian media, about her duties here. And because her coming has coincided with the electoral process in Liberia, and so she was speaking about the ongoing process. As you know, the campaign is heating up, or the candidates are traveling across the country and campaigning. And I guess her statement came following the Sierra Leone elections, where there were a lot of concerns about vote rigging, about harassment of voters, about so many other undemocratic acts in the Sierra Leone process. So she's advising the Liberian people, particularly the government and the National Elections Commission, to ensure that the coming electoral process or the coming October 10 elections will be free, fair, and free of violence, and, that all Liberians should refrain from the acts of violence, to ensure that the country remains stable, to ensure that we have the elections without any faults, we have the elections without, and then concerns about people being wounded or votes being rigged by the sitting government. So she was very clear on that, and that those anyone who tries to sabotage or disrupt the peaceful process will face the consequences. She was not clear on that, but will face the consequences. Anyone who tries to disrupt the electoral process will face the consequences. So that's what she said anyway.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tagway. Now let me bring this over to our panelists, beginning with you, Mr. Sheriff. The U.S. wanting full access to our polling places and voters tallying. First of all, why? Why are they? Is this like a regular process for the U.S. to request full access to our polling station, and also does it show? Well, let me give you the opportunity to first talk to us about this press statement from the U.S. Embassy, Mr. Sheriff. You're muted again.
Sorry, I muted myself. You can hear me
Go
now?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I read the communication from Catherine Rodriguez, who is the Charge d'Affaires at the Liberian at the U.S. Embassy in Liberia, and actually she did talk about things that in any democracy that people will look up to: free, fair, and transparent election free of intimidation, election free of harassment, and those are things that the Election Commission, especially this government, is making sure that happen. She talked about the government providing the enough resources, spending enough money, pumping enough money into the electoral processes, so there can be no kind of Liberian say hala hala. That the government is doing her part, but there's nowhere in the communique that I saw where she stated that They want full access to everything. No, Liberia is an independent state, an independent country. We have an election commission that is there. They are fully committed to conducting free, fair, and transparent elections. That is our hope. And we believe as a government, as people of Liberia, that they will live up to that expectation, because that is the expectation of all Liberians, especially all well-meaning Liberians. We want to see a free, fair, and transparent election, free of harassment, free of intimidation. That is our position as a political party, CDC. In terms of, we can speak to that. All we can speak to as a party, as a ruling party, we will play according to the rules of the game. That is, we will do everything within the confines of the electoral law of Liberia. We're not going to do anything that will contravene the electoral laws of Liberia. So the party CDC, from the party's perspective, will respect every single aspect of the electoral laws of the country. Anything that has to do with the election commission, that they can answer that question. But I'm speaking from the party's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheriff. You made a very specific statement that I would like to come back on, but let me get the panelist position on this press statement coming out of the U.S. Embassy in Liberia.
Mr. Sheriff,
I'm sorry.
I said I wanted to ask Mr. Sheriff a question.
I do too, but can we get the other panelists or position first?
No, it's okay. That David asked. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
We are running on time. I don't want to not get everyone opening statement on the discussion before I start asking questions. That's why. But I'll give you a minute and 30 seconds, Mr. Boulder. Give us your take on this discussion. We'll come back to you, Mr. Sheriff.
Sure.
I think it's a good idea. The American embassy coming in to use a heavy hand on the Liberian government is in place, because the government in itself has never proven to be responsible to conduct a clear elections, because their behavior does not state or show that they're going to do credible things. So it must seem as an overreach by the United States government or the State Department to Liberia. But we might welcome an idea that we need some measure to be able to control our electoral system, because the government, the CDC government, has not distinguished itself being a government and being a party. Because in the first place, they are using government funds to run their campaign, which is totally wrong. They are not told the Liberian people where all of their funds coming from to run this election for their party. So that is a fraud within the electoral system. And the Election Commission is not asking any questions in regards to that. So I think we need some measure that the American government can come in and give us a hands to help our people, even though our people want to vote the way they want to vote. But let us have the system done and clearly that people can see and monitor it, so that all the opposition party will have a clear opportunity to participate in the process as it should be.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Boulder. Now let me take you, Reverend Addy. Give us your take on this discussion.
Well, I think the U.S. official is on point, and she's on point because there are observations concerning upholding the tenets of democracy by this government that is in power. So yes, we need total transparency, something that we've had challenge with from the genesis of the using of the BVR, where people weren't adequately being registered, where they claimed to have machines in different areas, but they were breaking down in Lofi and parts of Nimba, where we saw trucking from one point to another. So yes, that observation is quite legitimate. I know Mr. Sheriff stated that we are an independent nation, but the last time I checked, this independent nation is highly, highly supported by this government that asking for a transparency in our elections. So make no mistake, as a nation, the credibility issue is at stake for this government's inability to finance the election commission properly. Quite frankly, we've seen the election commission put up flyers of our incumbent president, George Weah, and we've seen a lot of things that are inconsistent. The lack of people leaving their positions, and they're participating in campaign in violation of the laws. So let's be very clear, when we are advocating for sovereignty and independence, make no mistake, we know that those things have already been violated in keeping with the electoral laws of Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let's take you, Mr. Jai Winking. Give us your take on this discussion.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Before I talk about the U.S. Position, I'd like to first of all react to Mr. Sheriff regarding the statement he made that this government is committed to the security and transparency of the country. For instance, the rally they had today is an example. For each time they hold rally in Liberia, Monrovia is locked down, businesses are closed, people don't go anywhere. That is no respect of the right of the people. And as Mr. Boda said, there is no way to distinguish the WIA government and the CDC party. They pay children, they give them money, they buy them shirts, and they lock down the whole country. Businesses are losing money as a result of that. The last time I was there, it was one Saturday. I should have Sunday. I should have meant Mr. Anderson was able to go for a lunch on 12th Street. I spent 3 hours at the Freeport. They locked down the place. They cost people. For each time they drive on the highway, they hang on cars. They disrupt anybody who talks anything. They tend to fight people. I see that as an intimidation as well. It is not just interfering. So I disagree with Mr. Sharif that this government is really off of security of everybody because the attitude of the party and the government is not, you cannot distinguish that. They disrupt activities. Businesses are losing money for each time they lock down the whole city. If any political party leader were to do that, well, they're going to send security forces to disrupt their process. And that is very wrong. So I disagree. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jai Winking. We are the Lord Mayor of Bentall, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Give us your take.
I welcome our friends, the United States government, asking Liberia so that they can get involved in these elections. They have a stake in it. America, our partner in progress, when we have an ugly situation, they restructure the AFL, the peace that we enjoy today, they are one of the principal architects. They have been our partner in progress for years. It's kind of funny though, it's not counterintuitive. When you go to them for financial assistance, you don't talk about your assistance, you don't talk about your sovereignty, right? But when it comes to protecting the integrity of our election, of which the United States has a stake in it, that's the time you talk about sovereignty, your laws, and all of that. When you have budgetary constraint and budgetary shortfalls, you run to the United States government. But when it comes to protecting the people's vote, now you talk about sovereignty. The CDC government is like a wounded lion. So they know for a fact, if George Weah don't win this election, he's going to be prosecuted for extrajudicial killing. He's going to be prosecuted for the rampant corruption he and his people have been engaged in for